way that you move operates. So,
A little
yeah,
chaotic.
yeah, that's good though. It's good. It's very creative. So, um, I'll start off by saying welcome to you. Welcome to everyone that's going to be listening to this recording. This is a special edition of the EPIC Pro League Newsletter. Today, we're thrilled to introduce the Chapter Challenge. Okay, this is aimed at encouraging members to start an EPIC chapter in their local areas. Our special guest today, joining us from the West Coast on a Saturday, is Master Chief Chasteen, our EPIC president, our illustrious EPIC president, who recently began the journey of creating a local chapter of her own. She'll share today some of her insights, her vision, and some advice that she might have for you all on how to get started and how to make an impact. But first, Master Chief, if you don't mind, I'd like to just open up with a little bit of newsletter or EPIC Pro League news. I don't really have a lot today. I'm not gonna lie. We had a very impactful month. Although it wasn't super busy, it was very impactful. So we've made headway on the EPIC Heritage Ball. We got a new EPIC Heritage Ball committee member in the person of OSC Erica Pierre, who you know. So OSC came in and she was not shy. She came straight in with ideas, opinions. The meeting went very well. That was our third meeting. And so we're probably one meeting away from having the entire agenda like completely hashed out to the point where it's going to be like we're ready to go. There's going to be some cool new features, hopefully to this year's ball. And then with the symposium, now that was where we've seen the most movement. Okay, so we got quite a few new people. I reached out to Master Chief Jacobs to give me some MVPs for the month. He did shout out a couple of petty officers. So I'd like to shout their names out real quick. Let me see if I can find. So he wanted me to shout out a YN3 Journey Guyton. So if you're listening to
Okay.
this, YN3 said that she joined in on a committee, as well as SK3 Chance Roundtree. So Roundtree and Guyton, yes. They get big shout outs for this month. However, our MVP for the month is Lieutenant Keyshandra Davis. I'm not sure if you know who that is,
I
but
don't, but
yeah, me
more
either.
snaps.
Exactly. Like she did it big. I saw the email of the work she did with preparing some of the features that we're gonna have coming up for the symposium. I won't get into them, so I want to keep that kind of a surprise. But she has put together a really great product, and she seems to have all of her ducks in a row. It's going to be amazing. I really look forward to what Lieutenant Davis has brought to the table. So for October, that is our MVP. Um, we do have some other things that happened. Some EPIC West people got joined into the Pro League. I won't go through all of the names at this point. If you decide you want to shout them out, at some point in time, that would probably be better coming from you since you interacted with them. But EPIC West is on the move. They've shot up the scoreboard and are prepared to give EPIC East a run for our money now. So
I love it.
looking forward to see how they get involved in everything. So that's our Pro League information for this month. We'll go ahead and move into an interview with you. So as we described with the chapter challenge, we're trying to encourage people throughout the Coast Guard to create new chapters or even consider creating new chapters. So to assist with that, we'd like to have a little sit down with you to sit and discuss,
Yeah.
some of your thoughts. Um, and so I'll get right into it. All right, question one. Could you tell us a little bit about what was your inspiration behind starting your own local EPIC chapter?
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And also shout out to everyone that you've already mentioned. I think that without the many hands in the pot, it's very hard to get things accomplished, right? And so EPIC, the purpose of EPIC is really to connect, provide some professional development, provide an opportunity to connect with others, mentorship, networking, etc. So that is incredibly important. And nationally, I think we're doing a good job of that. And I know that there is a heavy concentration of EPIC members across the East Coast, and we don't necessarily have that on the West Coast. We have a couple of people here and there, spread out through D11, including D13, and actually D17, because Petty Officer Roundtree is actually in D17. So I, envisioned that there needed to be something here in Southern California. We have a lot of people that are just interested, right? Across all the different units that just really need a way to kind of gather and connect. And so in LALB, I am so honored and privileged that we have this unified LIDAC, that people are really interested in knowing about culture, knowing about where different folks come from, and appreciating their input and ideas. So
Nice.
I've just been sprinkling ideas, right? I have been, it seems like every month down here, we've been able to have some sort of get together or cultural initiative, if you will. We've done some leadership stuff down here. And so I just really wanted to kind of connect the dots. And I, as the president of EPIC, like, why wouldn't I try to encourage chapter development? Because it's wonderful that we have a national and strategic goals, right? But we need something lower at the lower level that's a little bit more achievable for our local groups to get together. And I know on the East Coast, you guys really strive to build and foster that community, that social connection. And so I just thought I'm at least going to provide an opportunity for folks to get together, tell them about EPIC, and kind of let it go from there. And so maybe probably since the summer, I've been sprinkling the idea and getting some words of encouragement out, building some support, and talking to my peers, some of the chiefs, some of the officers, really too, because while EPIC is geared towards junior enlisted members, it's so super important to kind of bring along the chiefs and in our ward room to help build connection and networking and mentoring, right? And so we don't know what the E5 or E4 wants to do in their career. Maybe they do want to look to OCS. Maybe they do want to look to chief, or chief warrant officer. So building that community is really important. So that was my vision. And I had the opportunity to provide space for that earlier this week. And so I'm really excited about it because people just want an opportunity to know that they can collaborate safely in a space and move forward on their own at their own pace, but that there's people that are like-minded that want to also move forward with them. So it's really promising, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, we're all excited. We're all excited as well. It's interesting because EPIC actually started on the West Coast, and then somehow it started shifting to the East Coast, more than likely because it seems as though there are more diverse people on the East Coast in some ways, but I don't think that that's always necessarily the case. And, just the way that the military is, the shift happens. And it seems as though, based on what I've seen so far, and I can't wait to hear more about it, there's a move over there. There's some people over there, big things happening over there, so thank you for sharing that. I'm glad that you decided to step out on that initiative. So with that in mind, you stepped out, you sprinkled a little bit, right? But then you did a little bit more. Okay. So kind of what were those next initial steps that you took to kind of get to that next point of organizing a meeting and gathering the support to actually make this happen?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Because I really, and with any initiative you do, you always need that champion that's going to like bring the idea to fruition, right? And that's probably why you guys have been successful with EPIC as a whole, right? From the start of conception to today. And so I had heard about some of the smaller chapters. Dawn, for instance, starting a chapter in Low Country. We want to see a chapter at NCR because there's a large group there. They also do First Fridays, and like, what a great opportunity to build up a community there. So I was like, well, I just need to get this off the ground, right? And so we have a very active, other affinity groups around here are just very active. And so I was like, we should, we got to do EPIC, and this is what it is, and this is what it looks like. And so you start talking to the leadership at LIDAC or the LDAC. You start talking to leadership of these other affinity groups that are doing really great things here. And you're like, hey, I would like to do this thing. Can I get your support? right? And
Mm,
so I think the trick is really like be the cheerleader for the thing that you want, but get support from people that are like-minded like you so that they
I
can
love
allow
that.
either their people to show up or
Yeah.
encourage others to show up. And I think um, sometimes, especially if you're a junior member, it's really hard to like figure out what the correct lane or path is for you. And you
Hmm.
might be fearful, not fearful, but like a little shy or apprehensive about asking for the opportunity to go towards, that affinity group or whatever.
Hmm.
And I think if you can get sponsorship and support from your own leadership, your own chief's mess, your own, wardroom, you can
Okay.
build the strength to kind of go
Hmm.
step out on a limb and get into that meeting to kind of find out what it's about. And so I told you that we had done some stuff with LIDAC, um, some cultural events. And so we did like a World Culture Heritage Day. And so what
Yeah.
I did was I printed out our EPIC brochures that are
Yeah.
on they're in our teams page that we have, the CG teams
Yeah. That you could, yeah, yeah.
for EPIC. And so I printed out our brochures. I printed out also the Coast Guard affinity brochure, which like lists
Okay.
all of the Coast Guard recognized affinity groups. I think that's really important because maybe EPIC is right for you, maybe it's not, and that's okay. But like you'll
Yeah.
know that there are other affinity groups, right? So I just wanted to share that there was affinity groups and like here's the purpose of an affinity group. Here's what it looks like. So I printed those out and I also printed out like ANSO has a good flyer. So I think I did those three things because in LA, um, those are probably the two largest groups that we have here in LA. So ANSO
Okay.
is good for the naval FAPAC as well, FAPAC as well. So
Oh
I
yeah,
printed out
definitely.
those different brochures, right? And I was like, here's these
Hmm.
affinity groups. But oh, by the way, I would like to put EPIC together. And so this is probably bold on my part, but I started adding people to our EPIC teams page. And they're like, what is this? And then I said, oh, by the way, we're going to have a meeting in a couple of weeks. We're just going to do coffee talk and I'll talk to you about it in person. And that's kind of just what happened. And so I talked to the chiefs and some of these officers and I said, hey, can you come? Because I just want to connect you to some junior
Yeah.
members that might be interested in following your career path, right? And so they see the
Yeah.
support and the connectedness, and that's kind of what happened. Um,
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah. No, that sounds great. I mean, that's you said a lot there, and I think that the thing that I pull out of that is I hear you talk about allyship,
mm-hmm.
finding people that might not necessarily be your exact group, but they share commonalities across different challenges or, just wanting to belong to something,
Yeah,
and to something within, even though we all are one Coast Guard, we all belong to one Coast Guard. But even within that, you find the sub communities, I guess, so to speak, where you find even deeper connection, and that's important. So you found those allies, you found those senior leaders who could help
mm-hmm.
champion what you're doing. You yourself being a senior leader, but I'm sure you talk to other senior leaders, and like you said, you talk to officers, which I think that's a great point as well. So enough about me. I'm just kind of summarizing what I'm hearing, and I
Yeah,
because I love it. Yeah, I love what you're doing a lot, and I hope people can really take that out of what you're saying. So with that being said, um, kind of now what's next? What's your vision? What's the chapter gonna look like, the development? Um, what's the impact that you hope it has on the actual unit day to day or just in general?
yeah. Thank you.
Hmm.
So my vision is that I am like, here's the opportunity, you guys, to build a chapter. You have to keep showing up, right? And so, so this first meeting was really about like who's interested, and we have folks that weren't able to attend, but they were like, hey, I couldn't go because whatever the thing was. But I want to go to the next one for sure. And yeah, Roger that. We'll get you on the email on the bang list, if you will. And so the vision I have or hope to have is that we have natural leaders within these small micro communities.
Yes.
And so I'm not their leader, right? I just want to give the opportunity. But I see a couple of like bright lights that are like, oh man, I can totally take this and run with it, right? So
Mhm.
shout out to BM1 Gentry, shout out to BM2 Cavalier,
Yeah.
shout out to Lieutenant McCrary because he's, my officer buddy that showed up when I asked him to.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lieutenant Junior Grade Oswecki, also showed up when I asked him to. They have two different career paths, right?
Awesome.
I have one person that's an academy grad, and I have another person that's that went through OCS. So
Okay.
those two are huge cheerleaders and champions and allies, and they'll keep this movement going. Also, shout out to Chief Jones. I needed him to to be a chief in the room and to be a sponsor as well. Um,
Awesome.
OS Two
Awesome.
Penders also showed up. She's from the Coast Guard Cutter Argus. So while they don't have a
Okay.
shift, they still have people that need community and connection, right?
Yeah. 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 Definitely.
Um,
Oh, they need
but
it more than anyone.
yeah, so really throughout, I kind of did like an EPIC 101 with them, but I was like, here are the things that are happening around the Coast Guard. Here's what RMAP is. Here's what CMAP is.
Hmm.
And so they were like, oh yeah, we could do this recruiting initiative. And I was like, oh yeah, and let me connect you to OS1 Harris, who is, recruiting office Los Angeles. He couldn't be here today, but he is like locked in to kind of promote any activities that they can do. So on their own, with me just saying like, here are the things that EPIC is about, they were able to come up with a list of things that they want to do. So I did not do any of that. They all did it on their own. Um, and they have an idea for the next one. So their next meeting will be in December. They even talked about doing a social and bringing in their partners and spouses so that they can feel connected too, and doing something off base. So they literally just needed a spark to ignite them,
Yeah.
and they're going to be off and running. So I'm really excited for where they intend to take it.
Yeah, and you were that spark, you were that spark. Yeah, you definitely have that effect on people, and I can definitely see that you shouting all those people out. It seems like they kind of just took that spark and they've run with it. They're gone into their own lane. So as you watch them, do that and develop into those avenues that they want to go down, what are some of the benefits or challenges that you know, you could see them encountering or that you have encountered so far in doing what you're doing and what they're doing?
Yeah, thank you. So I think
Mhm.
always the challenge is time, right? Probably
Yeah,
time and resources, but really time, because we have operational
yeah,
commitments. We had a phenomenal year in recruiting, but that doesn't make up for the 10% personnel shortage. So from a big Coast Guard perspective, there's still work that has to be done. We're still understaffed in certain areas. So I know that there's for every great thing, there's like an added guilt of not being able to do something, because if they, take an hour out of their workday to do some personal professional development and work on these initiatives, then they're not doing something for their unit. But um, we know that like they all both can coexist together, and it's important, right, to have that added value
absolutely.
to do the things that fill your cup, but also so then you can go back and focus on the mission. The mission's always
Definitely.
going to get done, but if you can build that community outside of the mission, you can just build that inner resilience and that sense of belonging and inclusion that's so vital and necessary to us.
Definitely. Definitely. I love that. Yeah. What advice would you give to other people outside of where you're at
Mm-hmm.
to start their own epic chapters? Just, other than what you've said already, like if you had to give like one or two, maybe three nuggets of advice, what would those things be?
My three nuggets: find a champion to support you in your
Awesome.
endeavor, be patient, and be persistent.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great. That's great. No, that was on point. I love it. I think that is something we would echo as well. With starting Epic, that was exactly the thought process we had, and I think you've hit it right on the nail. So I want to say thank you. I'm not going to be, hold you too long on a Saturday. Thank you for taking your time out to do this, Master Chief. Really, really appreciate all you're doing, sharing your journey with us today. We're inspired by your leadership, and we are dedicated to continuing to stand behind you and whatever it is that you are pushing us forward, because we see that you have the right thought process with this. So, to all that are listening, we encourage you to take part in Master Chief's Chapter Challenge, and consider the impact that you can make with your own EPIC local chapter. And we thank you for tuning in and look forward to the next update from Master Chief and from everybody in EPIC Pro League.
Awesome. Thank you so much today. Thank you for your time this morning on a Saturday.